Hello and welcome to Bicycle Touring Talk, episode 60. If you're new here, those are storytelling videos where I recall past bicycle touring adventures in an effort to share them with you and hopefully inspire you to get out there on your bikes and live the adventure of your own bicycle tour. If you like the concept, I'm posting them every Saturday. Any thumbs up and new subscribers are always welcome. I am George Schlacek,
the one and only.
And today I'm telling you about my journey from Nanaimo on Vancouver Island to Abbotsford, BC. I started off west of Nanaimo and a bit further from the city centre than I had actually thought. I had just spent my first night stealth camping at the side of the highway, but kind of just across the road from some residential houses. No one had bothered me, but I was up early and packed up camp as soon as I could. The ride started along the Nanaimo Parkway Trail. That basically follows the highway.
Good morning. It's a beautiful day. I'm in Nanaimo and I successfully stealth camped overnight. Not around here, but it looks somewhat like this. This is the Nanaimo Parkway Trail. Riding it with the bicycle, especially with mine that's loaded, it's tough because you know, there's lots of little hills and you can't shift fast enough to adapt.
The way into town, however, wasn't as straightforward as expected, and it was a bit longer than I had thought. The good thing was that I had an opportunity to stop at a rest area where I was able to use the washroom and to have my morning poop and freshen up for the day. Since there were picnic tables too, I made a sandwich for breakfast, much to the excitement of a resident crow.
Oh, there's a crow up there. He's after my food. Too bad. So what I was gonna say, I found this welcome center and I managed to maintain the clean shaven look.
Another thing I remember were the dog walkers and a smart car that some real estate brokers had put there as a gimmick for some marketing campaign. You were supposed to take a selfie with it for a chance to win $250. I did that, but didn't ever bother to find their Facebook page. My loss, I guess. The ride into town was a bit of an odyssey, but only because I wasn't familiar with Nanaimo. Once I knew where I was, I stopped at the local Tim Hortons for a morning coffee and a snack. Peanut butter cookie. Since I had decided to avoid Vancouver traffic for this tour, my ferry to the mainland was departing from Duke Point, which is located on a peninsula, roughly 20 kilometers outside of town. Energized by coffee and peanut butter cookies, I almost flew around the bay, except for that one big hill before leaving town, which I sort of did twice just to get this footage for my future YouTube venture. I wish I'd done this kind of thing more often. The weather was shaping up perfectly that morning, so the ride to Duke Point was quite pleasant. As soon as I arrived at the terminal, it got a bit confusing. Where were cyclists supposed to go? Thankfully, I met a couple who were also on bikes, and together we managed to find the ticket counter and the waiting lounge quite easily. The two cyclists were a local couple who had spent their long weekend visiting family on Vancouver Island by bicycle. Inevitably, we got into a conversation. I found out a bit about the trails on the mainland and alternate routes. One of the highlights of my trek through BC was supposed to be the Kettle Valley Rail Trail. I was hoping to pick it up in Hope, and then stay on it all the way to Castlegar, which was not too far from the Alberta border. Cindy and Brian, as I will call my new acquaintances here, told me that this trail was very rough, at least on the stretches they had ridden over the years. Brian advised me to take Highway 3 instead, which had been upgraded over the years and was now much safer for cyclists than it had been before. The other alternative would be the Coquihalla, a 4-lane expressway with no places to stop for about 80 kilometers, not to mention a steady, steep incline. Both options would start in Hope. I was still set on riding the KVR, thinking my old bike with its 26-inch mountain bike tires would be up to the challenge. Timing was good that day, not because I had planned it well, but out of pure luck. Thanks to the early start, a result of stealth camping, it was still relatively early in the day. The ferry crossing was pleasant and took almost 2 hours. Off in the distance, huge whales could be seen popping out of the water. Another good feature of the ferry was the tourist information booth. I was able to get a free local map and find out about the Boundary Bay Trail, which locals called the Dyke. It would take me right past the busy metropolitan center of Vancouver, starting out in Twassen, not far from the ferry terminal. Surprisingly, it was just barely past lunchtime when I got to the mainland. The biggest challenge after departing the ferry was to find the beginning of the Boundary Bay Trail. At first, I followed Cindy and Brian, but they were on very light road bikes, so it was hard for me to keep up. I abandoned my pursuit when I saw a big map of the area on a billboard. That was a perfect spot for me to enjoy a snack as well as get oriented. The map's usefulness was limited because of construction in the area. When I eventually made my way into town, nothing looked the way I imagined it, and to top it off, vehicle traffic was extremely heavy due to some event. I ended up asking my way through, which was successful in the end, but felt like a big ordeal. Once I got onto the trail, however, I was glad to have found it. The trail surface was of a fine gravel that was compacted enough for a great ride. There were plenty of other cyclists and hikers using it, and the sights of the bay were truly nice.
So I'm on this Boundary Bay Trail here, and it's quite impressive. It's beautiful. It's a trail. I don't have to share the road with cars, and there's only some bikes, and over there is mountains, and there's Vancouver somewhere, and just on my other side it's like water, but it's kind of dried up.
Off in the distance, across the dried up bay, tall mountains with white peaks were visible. The US. To my left, I was looking at the skyline of Vancouver, only to imagine what it would have been like to navigate through the city. At a particularly beautiful spot, I leaned the bike against a wooden fence and walked out into the bay to sit on a log and make sandwiches for lunch. I wasn't quite alone, as there was a parking lot right across and several other people were also enjoying the sights. The 35 kilometers of Boundary Bay Trail were definitely the highlight of my day. I was also becoming very comfortable with the idea of being on the move almost indefinitely. 3 months of cycling lay ahead of me, come hell or high water. I would later experience plenty of high water, but be spared the fires of hell. The summer of 2017 was a tough one for British Columbia, with floods early in the season, followed by the most vicious fire season in decades. As easy and fun as it was to ride Boundary Bay Trail, navigating the local country roads that followed it was anything but.
And it was so nice, but over there is the highway, and that's what I probably got to take. But there's supposed to be a way that I can actually go along the US border on like secondary roads. Should be pretty good. Vancouver is like way over there now, and well, it was a good ride so far. I did very good on this gravel. The only thing that now the bike's all dusty.
Theoretically, and according to my map, all these roads ran parallel and had easy to identify numbers. The problem was that half the roads on the map didn't seem to exist at all, unless the numbers were all wrong. Several times I felt that I was getting very close to the US border. Eventually, I found my way toward Langley, where I stopped at McDonald's for their value meal and to buy some more groceries, mainly fruits, at a supermarket.
Okay, I finally reoriented. I'm somewhere east of Langley. I forgot the name of the township, but I stopped here, used the bathroom at McDonald's, got a few apples and bananas. And this here is my turnoff. I'm going south again, almost to the US border, and then east on the flat road there. I got just about 100 kilometers today already, but it's such beautiful sunshine, and I want to ride a bit more.
After this relatively short stop in a civilized area, my route took me back south again toward the US border, simply to avoid riding on the shoulder of a busy expressway. For the most part, the terrain was very flat and allowed for easy travel. The challenge was navigation. I knew that my general direction would always have to be east, but it was hard to tell which road would actually lead somewhere and distinguish them from the dead ends. When I eventually passed the Abbotsford airport and some more signs indicating my closeness to the US border, I turned north again to get to Abbotsford. By the time I finally got there, the sun was setting and I was tired.
So I'm at the visitor center in Abbotsford, British Columbia, and I haven't got a place to stay. The sun is setting over there. It looks nice, except for, we're by a road here. Of course, the visitor center is closed, and I don't find any camp grounds on their map, and it doesn't really matter because campgrounds cost money. And I want to try and stretch my budget as much as I can, so...
The visitor center was already closed, but provided free internet access. Where was I going to stay? The Google map sure proved to be a good way to scope out the surrounding area for potential free campsites.
I found on their map something that looks like a park, and I'm going to go see. I don't know if that's going to work out, but that's the chance you take.
Prime candidates were local parks and other public places like recreation centers and schools with large yards. I eventually made my way to a nearby park, but was discouraged by signs that threatened fines to anyone who would be caught in this park after 11 p.m. Next to the park was an unmaintained area, however, which probably belonged to some land developer who might be sitting on it to wait for the right opportunity to turn it into condos. It was a bit rough to push my bike across this overgrown field with scattered wooded areas, but that was exactly what I did. I found a perfect campsite that was well hidden from people, yet still relatively close to the road. I would crash here during the dark hours, then get up early and visit Timmy's for breakfast before hitting the road. Perfect plan, I thought. The only surprise I got were the crows in a nearby tree who had obviously noticed my presence and couldn't stop yakking about it. It didn't matter much at that point. I was physically exhausted, and once my camp was set up, fell asleep quickly. There you go, another night of stealth camping. Free accommodation. Or could this place have some hidden surprises that I might have missed due to my fatigue after cycling in excess of 150 kilometers on what had been only my third day of serious cycling? Find out here in the next episode. Oh, due to a planned bike ride and camping trip, Bicycle Touring Talk may skip a week. But I promise there will be a video of some sort and you may just enjoy it equally or more. So I'll see you soon.